So if NLC and TUC cannot pick one thing from the last review that happened in 2024, then I don't know what will happen with this new review that we want to embark on. And of course, I think it was yesterday we were talking about the whole comment of Mr. Bayo Ononuga, essay to the President on Information and Strategy, when he said the President increased the minimum wage and that should count for something. And then I think we discussed that, this does not count for anything, especially in 2026. And then it appears that the government, or let me say the presidency, they listen, they watch, because I think I mentioned it as well yesterday, that they need to be conversant with the realities of Nigerians in 2026. And then the Chief of Staff to the President, that's Femi Gbajabiamila, the former Speaker of House of Rep, said that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu will review 70,000 minimum wage. And then beyond that, he also said another thing that is very core. He also mentioned that the president inherited a dangling economy. The economy was bound to collapse any moment from now. That was according to Femi Gbajabiamila. But let's start from the whole review of 70,000 minimum wage. I remember that in 2024, when the discussion started about, okay, let's review the minimum wage, I think the NLC and TUC started with about 494,000. And then from there, they reduced it to 250,000. And then from there, I think the government now proposed, 48,000. 54,000, 60,000, and then finally the government proposed 62,000. And then so when the two bodies met, they all agreed to peg it at 70,000 naira, with a promise to review in the next 3 years and not 5 years anymore. So according to a lot of Nigerians, why would the NSC and TUC agree to 70,000, looking at what was going on in the country at that time? But then a lot of persons still, appreciated the president and of course the presidency to say at least you have increased it from 33 to 70,000, it will count for something. So now this is my question. Now that the presidency is proposing another review, the NLC, the TUC, they know what to do now, to maybe propose something that would at least count for something and then help a lot of persons to live a better life. Remember I mentioned what it started with in 2024, 494,000, and then down to 250 and down to 77,000. A lot of Nigerians were furious at that time, why some persons still celebrated. So now they're about to do another review. So it's left for those people, I think, beyond the NLC and TUC. Nigerians also have been saying all of this to say, okay, this is what we want. And then crossing back to the issue of the dangling economy, because according to Femi Gbajabiamila, the economy was living on the borrowed time when the president came in. I remember that a particular ambassador to Nigeria, US ambassador to Nigeria, that's John Campbell, he wrote a book in 2011, and then he called it Nigeria Dancing on the Brink. So it tells you that this economy has been dangling for years, not even now. But then the situation has become more intense, and that's why we need to be very intentional. And then Femi Gbajabiamila also mentioned this, and I think it's very important that we discuss this as well. He said the president had two options, either to govern as a politician or to govern as a statesman. And according to him, the president took the latter and is governing as a statesman. And that was why he decided to remove the fuel subsidy, which has cost Nigerians a lot, in 2026, because we all know when the price of fuel goes up, it will affect every single thing. So according to him, the president wanted to secure the future of Nigerians, and that was why he did that. So now let's talk about the two major issues now, the fuel subsidy, and then let's talk about the minimum wage. If you read comment online, some Nigerians are saying, okay, it's a good one, you want to increase the minimum wage, but then can we also work on the price of fuel, which will also reduce the burdens of Nigerians? So this is the discussion this morning. Anytime they decide to increase the minimum wage, people will increase their own price too in the market. Even forget about the market. Landlord will wake up in the morning and tell you that, how far now? If you're paying 150,000, and they will tell you, you will start paying 200,000 naira. And then economists will argue and tell you it's the function of market forces. When you have more money in circulation, normally the prices of goods will go up, and then that's another problem, just like you mentioned. So I think beyond increasing the minimum wage, because I'm trying to think about it now. I gave you some figures when we started that. Initially, NSC and TUC said, okay, pay 494,000. And later, they reduced it to 250,000. And later, they agreed on 70,000, even though the federal government proposed 54,000. No, so they started with 48,000, then 54,000, then 60, then 62,000. So it tells you that there will be negotiations. We don't know. Now it's left to the bodies that will negotiate for the people. Because it doesn't, if they agree to pay 400,000, or let me say 250,000, I trust you. Oh, trust me now, people will still complain. So it depends on what NLC and TUC we agree on now. Because the agreement is very key to how Nigerians will live in the next 3 years before another review. Because let's not start with 490. That's why I said initially a lot of Nigerians were furious. How can you start with 494,000 and at the end of the day you settled for 70,000? Because see, let me tell you something. When you want to price, when you go to the market and you want to buy maybe any product, and then the person tells you, oh, this product is 50,000 naira, and you want to price it, and you tell the person, I can't pay 50, I want to pay 20,000 naira. You know, even the person selling will look at you and ask questions like, Afa, what is going on? So that was similar to what the government did, 494,000, and the government started with 48,000. So you can see the reduction. So that tells you that NLC and TUC must have learned something when it comes to how they will negotiate with the presidency for this next review. I mean, for everything. That's why they say, when people say history repeats itself, I tell them, no, it's not true. When people fail to learn from history, they are doomed to repeat history. So if NLC and TUC cannot pick one thing from the last review that happened in 2024, then I don't know what will happen with this new review that we want to embark on.